or how people move from one area or from one destination to the next, you have to look at everybody. The man who drives, the man who commutes, who wait depends on public transportation and what is there is in place for that person. And the other thing where transportation is concerned, you have people taking 2 hours from Arima to Port of Spain, from San Grande to Port of Spain, and then things like, well, look, we ain't talking about from San Fernando to Port of Spain, right? A lot of the business people not realizing how many man hours they lose on the road. I had a company who decided to provide transportation for the workers. They pay 1/3 and the workers pay 2/3. And it actually works. Because what it does is that the transportation makes sure you reach to work on time and you ain't run away before time. So, in other words, what they were putting out, they were getting it back. They were getting it back in man hours. And these are some of the things you have to look at. Without a proper transportation system in your country, you lose a lot of productivity. And if you check the amount of hours we lose in productivity on a daily basis, you're going to see how much money the country or businessmen and government that we are losing on a daily basis because we don't have a proper transportation system. Something that works. So, I don't want to go over my 5 minutes, so I'll stop there for now.
Right, so that I need my roving reporter to organize the mics that are going to be passed around the audience. So we've had the opening salvos, and as you can see, I could have let them all continue for at least 15, 20 minutes because they have much more to say. But I felt that it was important that we stick a pin here. And on the basis of because between them, they have raised at least 12 or 15 issues, I think, that we should try to tease out. And I would want to know, invite feedback from the members gathered here and start the conversation going. And of course, that conversation could also take place between the members of the armchair panel themselves, right? So that just indicate that handsome gentleman with the 2 mics in his hand on the camera that you want to, and look for my signal so that we can keep some system in it because I know that we're going to be going back and forth. So, Dr. Williams?
Yes, I was tickled by Ray's suggestion that we need to subsidize public transportation more. Knowing where we are now, I would love for you to explain what is meant by that. Thank you.
Right. So I also tied that to the lack of administration. I mentioned that PTSC is a publicly owned bus company competing. I know they are I think I see the chairman there as well. But they are demanding that that PTSC, the public interprets that PTSC is the manager of public transport. And that's not fair to them. Although in the act, there's an area where they can do data collection. They can do elements of administration if they want to. They could also transport cargo if they want to. Dr. Thompson was the CEO at one point. But the overall administration of national public transport has never been done. You see, if you go back to the 1967 study, when they recognized, these consultants recognized that the pirate taxis, which we commonly call PH, existed, particularly taking people along the east-west corridor from the hills, St. Joseph and all the other areas and so on. The study concluded, simply flood, my words, flood the market with more PTSD buses annually up to the horizon year of 1985, and that will solve the problem. Put up 2 buildings, one in San Fernando, will repair the ones in Port of Spain, and that will solve the problem of terminals. And that was the end of public transport. So when I refer to more subsidies, I'm not saying give money, buy bus. Maybe that's what the average person will think. I'm saying to allocate, it's what we call the push and pull factors. Give the incentives for attractive, convenient, cost-effective national public transport and take it away from the private auto users. Shift it, not into fuel, simply fuel across the board, but shift it appropriately. So the management will now be, and we have right now the private operators, Linus and his team, Ian, and so they carry the bulk of the passenger. I'm saying we have of the order of 650,000. By the way, I need to throw in here, I don't for 1 minute think we have 1.4 million people in Trinidad, and I have written that in my own articles, 440 something, I've written articles on transport issues, and that's before the influx that we are having now. I believe we have more than 2 million people. You can't have 1 million people driving on the roads and have 1.4 million children driving. Right? So we have to get our act together. There are areas you can't go into. The census people can't go into some areas in Enterprise, in Hollywood, Point Fortin, in Bangladesh. These people are under the radar. So let's assume we have 650,000 people nationally from one of the earlier studies. I did my own little calculation. Nationally, we cannot have a mix of the PTSC, the private maxis, the taxis and so on. We cannot have a nice mix analyzed from the data collected where people come in from, where they go in, and have a nice mixed, attractive change the type of vehicles to attractive, sexy-looking public transport vehicles with all the devices on them and make it work. When it becomes attractive, that's the pull. When it becomes attractive, start with that first. It will cost a little deficit, but then you start penalizing. If you want to use your private car, you pay higher cost to park. You pay this, that, the other. Parking will then be, instead of 8 and 6, well, I noticed a new car park going up with $16 an hour, it'll be $100 an hour. You want to park downtown? Like that. Because you have the intra-city transport that he's talking about will be all part of the mix. I'll stop there for now. I hope that helps.
Yeah. Let me just get a question there.
Yes, good morning. What is the protocol you're using? Because I have several questions. I don't expect to ask them all now, but I would like to.
Well, start with the first question and let's get the feedback.
Well, first of all, I wanted to thank Mr. Philip, all of the presenters for very, very interesting 5-minute talks. But I particularly have to say that Mr. Philip hit some spots. I just want to talk about an experience I had 2 days ago. And I decided I had a lot of errands to run in Port of Spain, and I needed to travel from my house in Cocorite to stop in St. James for something, to go to TT Connect, then go into Frederick Street and Henry Street. So I took a maxi, then easily took another maxi. Then the guy turned off into Gonzales, which threw me off a little bit because I lost sight of the route when you go through St. James. Anyway, no problem. I was able to walk and whatnot. Then I ended up at the ID building. And it suddenly struck me, my God, how am I getting back? I have no idea how to get back to Cocorite. I had to call a friend to come and pick me up. Now, what can we do about educating about the routes? I said, well, do I go down to Port of Spain? This guy went into Gonzales. Do I have to go back through Gonzales to get to Cocorite? Anyway, I just wanted to tell you that I agree with you about urban transportation and maybe a little bit more awareness and maybe some more better planned routes in there might help. But what I wanted to ask is, I didn't hear anybody mention the impact of Uber and rideshare that we have now and how that is happening. And I also wanted to ask, because Dr. Furlong mentioned people coming in from the hills, are we ever going to get rid of the PH, or should we develop a planning and a transportation system that recognizes their contribution? Now, I realize that they're not spending their money on the license. I realize there's a safety factor. I never take a PH. So I just wondered what you, especially Mr. Philip, as the maxi tax, and even Dr. Furlong with his plans for boosting public transportation, how do you see the PH featuring there, and what about Uber and rideshare for the time being?
I'll leave the whole panel to answer that.
All right. The issue of pH. Now, let me take Port of Spain. Right? If you look at Port of Spain, basically pH take over Port of Spain. Now, ask yourself the question, why pH? Now, if I'm a pH driver, I could give you the reason why. Now, I don't have to get a taxi badge, that's a cost. Insurance, when you have a taxi, the insurance puts you in what you call a high-risk category. A PICA insurance, if I have the same,